The Galaxy Council chamber was the largest hall ever built in orbit. It was designed to hold thousands of voices, each one belonging to a leader from a different world. The ceiling arched high above with bright lights that looked like stars, and the walls were covered in shining silver panels that seemed alive with movement. At the center of the hall, a great circular table stretched wide, glowing with streams of information. It was here that the most powerful rulers of the galaxy met to speak, to argue, and to decide the future of countless civilizations. On this day, the chamber was more crowded than usual. Representatives of many star nations had arrived, wearing their finest robes, armor, or strange suits. Some were tall, thin creatures with glowing eyes. Others were short beings with tough scales. Some floated in shimmering fields of light, while others had wings folded close to their bodies. Each of them carried the pride of their species, and each of them believed they were greater than the small blue world called Earth. And for many years, the Galaxy Council had thought of humans as nothing special. They were described as noisy, restless, and fragile. Reports from scouts said that humans fought too often among themselves and wasted resources. Stories claimed they were stubborn and emotional, good at surviving but never meant to rise high among the stars. To most members of the council, Earth was just another planet with another species trying to live beyond its place. But rumors had begun to spread. Strange whispers told of human fleets, of soldiers with endless willpower, and of machines built for war. Some dismissed these tales as lies, while others laughed, saying it was impossible. Yet when the council called for a formal meeting with Earth's chosen representatives, the tone was different. There was curiosity in the air, but also unease, as though many wanted to see for themselves what humans truly were. The great doors opened. 2 humans stepped inside. The chamber grew quiet at once. And the first was a woman, tall and calm, with sharp eyes that seemed to watch everything. Her name was Captain Laura Mitchell. She wore a uniform of dark navy with a silver stripe across her shoulder. Every movement she made was steady, as if she carried a weight she had already prepared for. Beside her walked a man with short brown hair and a firm jaw. His name was Commander Daniel Brooks. He was younger than Laura, but carried himself with the same strong purpose. He walked as though he knew many were waiting to judge him and his people. All eyes followed them as they walked to the central circle. Their steps echoed in the vast chamber. Some of the alien delegates whispered in their strange voices, their tones filled with doubt or curiosity. A few even laughed quietly, thinking the humans looked too simple to represent power. But others said nothing at all. They only watched on a council elder, a tall being with skin like polished stone and eyes like green fire, raised his voice to open the meeting. He welcomed the humans and asked why Earth had sent such a large fleet to wait beyond the station. His words were slow, heavy, and carried the weight of authority. The chamber waited for the human answer. Laura lifted her head. Her voice was calm but strong enough to carry through the hall without shaking. She explained that Earth came to stand before the council as equals, not as beggars or servants. She said that humans had struggled for centuries through storms, hunger, wars, and dangers from their own planet. She told them that Earth was not an easy world to live on, but its people learned to fight, adapt, and never give up. They were alive because they refused to die. Some of the delegates nodded, unimpressed. Many species had hard paths. Why was humanity different? Commander Brooks then stepped forward. His voice was lower, more direct. He said that the fleet beyond the council station was proof of what humanity had built. It was not a fleet of a weak world. It was a fleet of survivors who had taken every lesson of pain and turned it into strength. The elder asked how many ships Earth had brought. Daniel answered with a number. The chamber shifted with noise at once. Gasps filled the air, claws clicked, wings twitched. Even the proudest delegates could not hide their surprise. The number was far greater than any minor world should have been able to produce. It was not the number alone, but the fact that those ships were waiting in perfect formation outside, each one ready. And holoscreens lit up around the chamber, showing the image of the human fleet. The sight made the room fall into deep silence. Hundreds of ships floated in disciplined ranks. Their shapes were simple, built for function, not beauty. Their weapons glowed with faint light, sharp and threatening even from a distance. The formation was tight with no ship out of place. Every movement was controlled, precise. It looked less like a fleet and more like a living thing. And an alien delegate with a long neck and golden feathers gave a harsh laugh. He declared that any species could build metal shells and call them ships. He said numbers meant nothing without skill. He mocked the humans, calling them children with toys. And Laura did not respond to the insult. She only stood with calm eyes, watching as the words echoed across the chamber. Daniel's jaw tightened, but he too said nothing at first. The silence of the two humans made the delegate frown, for he had expected anger or fear. Instead, he found no reaction. Then Laura spoke again. Her words were simple. She said, "What you see is only a fraction." Her voice did not rise, yet it carried through the hall. The meaning struck deep. If this fleet was only a part, how much more did Earth have hidden? The chamber filled with whispers, louder this time, uneasy and sharp. Some of the elders leaned forward, their glowing eyes unblinking. They had lived through centuries of wars between great empires, yet the calm claim of the human captain unsettled them. One delegate, with skin of shifting colors, asked why humanity had built such strength. Laura answered that humanity had learned long ago that peace without defense was fragile. They had seen empires fall, nations burn, and people vanish because they were not ready to protect themselves. Earth had sworn not to repeat those mistakes. Every ship outside was not a weapon for conquest, but a shield for survival. And Daniel added that humans had no wish to rule the galaxy, nor to destroy it. But if threatened, they would stand and they would fight, and they would not fall easily. He reminded the chamber that Earth's history was filled with stories of armies outnumbered, yet still victorious, because they would not break. The elder of the council sat in silence for a long moment. His green fire eyes stayed fixed on the humans. Finally, he said that the council would consider what they had seen. He ended the session with slow words, though it was clear that the meaning of this day would not be forgotten. Nays. Laura and Daniel turned to leave the chamber. The whispers behind them grew. Some voices were filled with fear, some with anger, and some with new respect. For the first time, the Galaxy Council realized that Earth was not a minor world. Humanity had stepped into the center of the galaxy, and they had not come weak. They had come strong, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again. Outside the station, the fleet remained still, like a vast shadow waiting in the stars. Its lights shone faintly, marking the place of every ship. It was not only a fleet, it was a message. And the message was clear. This was a human army. Captain Laura Mitchell and Commander Daniel Brooks left the great chamber in silence. They could still feel the weight of countless eyes on their backs even as the massive doors closed behind them. The whispers of the alien delegates had followed them out, a mix of curiosity, fear, and disbelief. Outside the chamber, they walked through the long silver corridors of the council station, the walls glowing faintly with light. Alien guards in strange armor stood along the path, but none of them dared to stop or question the humans. Laura walked with her hands folded behind her back, her posture calm, but Daniel knew her mind was working quickly. She had spoken with careful control, but the reaction of the council meant that things could turn dangerous. The show of the fleet had been powerful, but now the real challenge was beginning. Words could be more dangerous than weapons in a place like this. When they reached the room prepared for them, Daniel shut the door and turned toward her. "They don't believe us fully," he said in a low voice. "They think the fleet is all we have." Laura nodded slowly. "Yes, and some of them are already afraid. Fear can make allies, but it can also make enemies. We must be careful with every word." And the room was simple, built for guests of the council. The walls were smooth and white, and the floor was soft beneath their boots. There was no decoration, only a table and 2 chairs, along with a wide screen that looked out into the stars. Beyond the glass, the human fleet floated in dark silence like a wall of steel holding position. Daniel stepped closer to the window. The sight always made his chest feel tight. Hundreds of human ships glowed faintly in the endless dark, each one ready to move at a moment's notice. He had grown up in the shadow of wars on Earth, and now he was part of something far larger. It made him proud, but it also reminded him of the responsibility they carried. A single mistake here could bring disaster. Meanwhile, across the station, the council leaders gathered in their private chamber. The elder with stone-like skin and green fire eyes sat at the center, his massive frame glowing in the dim light. Around him sat dozens of powerful rulers. Some whispered in anger, others in disbelief. The image of the human fleet had burned into their minds, and no one could deny what they had seen. A feathered delegate slammed a clawed hand against the table. His golden feathers shook as he shouted that humanity was dangerous and could not be allowed to grow unchecked. Another, a short reptilian with sharp teeth, hissed in agreement, demanding that the council consider restrictions or even a strike before humans became too strong. But others disagreed. A tall, thin being with eyes like liquid silver spoke in a calm tone, reminding the council that humanity had not threatened anyone. The captain's words had been clear. Earth wanted survival, not conquest. If the council turned against them without cause, it might create the very war they wished to avoid. And in the chamber erupted in arguments. Some called humans liars, others called them survivors. The elder sat in silence, listening to every word, his expression unreadable. And back in their room, Laura and Daniel received a message from the council. Another session would be held the next day, and the humans would be required to answer more questions about their fleet, their history, and their true intentions. And son, Daniel exhaled slowly when the message ended. They're testing us. They want to see if we break. Laura turned her eyes from the window to him. Then we will not break. That night passed slowly. Neither of them slept much. Laura sat at the table reading reports from the fleet, while Daniel walked the room in silence, his thoughts heavy. Outside, the ships of Earth held their formation. They were a reminder not only to the council but to the humans themselves that they were not alone here. They carried their strength with them. And then when the next day came, the council chamber was even more crowded. Word had spread quickly across the station, and more delegates had come to see the humans. The seats were filled with new faces, some from distant empires that rarely attended these meetings. They wanted to witness for themselves the species that had shocked the galaxy. Laura and Daniel stepped into the chamber once again, calm and steady. This time the silence was heavier, filled with expectation. The elder welcomed them back with a deep voice and explained that the council had many questions. Laura inclined her head slightly, prepared to answer. The first question came from the golden-feathered delegate. His tone was sharp as he demanded to know how many ships Earth truly possessed. He accused the humans of showing only what they wanted others to see. His voice dripped with suspicion. Laura met his gaze without flinching. She did not give him an exact number. Instead, she explained that the fleet outside was not for intimidation, but to show that Earth was no longer defenseless. She reminded the council that humanity had been underestimated for too long, and that survival had forced them to prepare. The number of ships was less important than the will of the people who crewed them. And Daniel added that every ship was not just metal, but filled with men and women who had trained their whole lives to endure. He said that humans were not raised to expect comfort, but to face challenges head-on. It was not numbers or weapons that gave humanity its strength, but the spirit of its people. And some delegates scoffed at this, calling it emotional nonsense. But others leaned forward, their eyes thoughtful. They had fought wars themselves and knew that willpower could sometimes decide battles more than numbers. Another delegate, with translucent skin that glowed faintly, asked about Earth's history. She wanted to know why humanity had chosen the path of soldiers and fleets instead of scholars and peace. Her voice was curious, not mocking. And Laura spoke then of Earth's past. She told the chamber of wars that had burned across continents, of disasters that had nearly ended whole nations, and of the endless struggle to survive against nature itself. She did not hide the violence of human history. Instead, she explained that every hardship had shaped them into what they were now. Humans had learned to adapt, to rebuild, and to grow stronger each time they were struck down. And the chamber listened in silence as she spoke. Some eyes showed respect, others fear. To many of them, Earth's history sounded brutal, but it also explained the steel in the humans' voices. When she finished, Daniel added quietly, "We do not ask for pity. We do not ask for fear. We ask for recognition. Humanity has earned its place among the stars." And the words hung in the air. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the council chamber broke into whispers once again, louder than before. The argument started almost at once, rising into sharp voices and clashing tones. Some demanded restrictions, others called for alliances. The galaxy was dividing before their eyes. The elder finally raised his hand and the noise stopped. His green fire eyes studied the two humans with long, steady focus. He did not speak of fear or anger. Instead, he said, "The Council sees that humanity is no longer small. What it must decide is whether humanity will be friend or foe." Ernest, Laura, and Daniel did not answer right away. They stood in silence, knowing that their next words could shape the future of Earth and the galaxy. The hall waited, every eye fixed on them, every breath held in expectation. The weight of history pressed down upon their shoulders, but neither of them wavered. For they knew that this was only the beginning. The next day, the chamber was even more crowded than before. Word of Earth's human fleet had spread across the station, and nearly every delegate wanted to witness what they had only heard about. Some came with curiosity, others with doubt, and a few with open hostility. The atmosphere was tense, heavy with expectation. And Captain Laura Mitchell and Commander Daniel Brooks entered the chamber with calm, steady steps. Their faces showed no fear, only focus. The alien delegates watched them closely, some leaning forward, some whispering to one another. It was clear that every gesture and every word of the humans would be examined carefully. Gowan the Elder, with the stone-like skin and green fire eyes, rose slowly. "The Council has questions about your fleet, your strategy, and your people," he said. "Show us that humanity is more than what we see." And Laura nodded. She stepped forward and addressed the chamber. "We do not seek to scare you," she said. "We do not seek to conquer. But the Council has seen a fleet beyond this station. That fleet exists because humanity must be ready. We face dangers that are not always known, and we do not wish to be surprised." And a feathered delegate with golden plumes clicked his claws sharply on the table. "Show us proof," he demanded. "Words are nothing without action. If your fleet is truly strong, then demonstrate it." Laura's eyes were steady. She turned to Daniel. "Are you ready?" she asked quietly. And Daniel nodded. "Let's begin." And outside, the human fleet was waiting, silent and still. When the humans in the chamber gave the command, several ships moved at once. They broke formation smoothly, gliding around each other with sharp precision. The alien delegates gasped as they saw maneuvers that no fleet had ever performed before. Ships turned, rose, and dropped in perfect synchronization, as if they were parts of a single living organism. Then Laura signaled for the next phase. The ships simulated an attack on a drone fleet controlled by the Council. The drones were fast and heavily armed, but the humans anticipated every move. In a few minutes, the drones were disabled, captured, or forced to retreat. The chamber watched in stunned silence. Never before had they seen such coordination, speed, and adaptability. One of the Council's advisors, a short reptilian with sharp teeth, hissed in disbelief. "Impossible," he said. "No fleet should move like that. No species should have such control." Daniel spoke calmly. "Every ship is crewed by people trained not only to fight but to survive. Humans are not born ready for war alone. They are raised to face the unexpected, to adapt and to endure." And a few delegates whispered among themselves. They had fought in countless wars across the galaxy. They knew that technology alone did not make a fleet dangerous. It was the minds and courage of the crew, and what they saw in the human fleet was beyond what most species could manage. Another delegate, with translucent skin that shimmered in soft light, asked how humans could train so many to such a level. Laura answered that it was not just training, but a way of life. Humanity had faced countless threats on Earth. They had learned to act as one, to think fast, and to keep moving even when all seemed lost. The human spirit had been forged by centuries of survival, and the fleet reflected that strength. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Some delegates were wide-eyed, others were whispering urgently. The golden-feathered delegate looked angry, but his eyes betrayed worry. Even those who had mocked humans before could not deny what they had just witnessed. And Laura continued, "We are not here to conquer. We are here to survive, and to be respected as equals. Our fleet is a shield, not a weapon for aggression. But if threatened, we will act. We will endure, and we will not yield." The elder with stone-like skin leaned forward, studying the humans carefully. His eyes glowed brighter, but he did not speak immediately. Around him, the other council members exchanged glances, whispers rising and falling like waves. Some were impressed, others alarmed. They had underestimated humanity for too long. One of the older delegates, a being with long, flowing tentacles, spoke next. You show skill and power, but why reveal it now? Why not hide it until it is too late for others to resist? And Daniel answered firmly, because hiding does not protect us. Transparency builds trust. Hiding only breeds fear and conflict. Humanity prefers to be known even if it shocks others. And some of the younger delegates nodded, quietly agreeing. Others clenched their hands or shifted nervously in their seats. The council had been forced to face a truth they could not ignore. Humanity was strong, and they had arrived prepared. Laura added, Our fleet may be impressive, but it is not the full measure of our people. Humanity thrives not just because of ships or weapons, but because of the will to survive, to fight for what is ours, and to protect those we love. That is what makes humans dangerous to those who underestimate them. Now the chamber was quiet. The air felt heavy, charged with realization. The elders and delegates were no longer laughing or whispering in disbelief. They were calculating, thinking, realizing that Earth had grown beyond what any record had shown. Humanity was no longer a small species to be ignored. Nanan. The golden-feathered delegate finally spoke, his voice lower now, controlled, but sharp. If what you say is true, then the council must rethink its stance. We cannot treat Earth as a minor world. Your people are remarkable. Laura nodded slightly. She did not smile, for she knew the path ahead would not be easy. The council's acknowledgement was only the beginning. Respect could turn into fear. Alliances could turn into suspicion. But the first step had been taken. Humanity had proven that it was not to be dismissed. And Daniel looked around the chamber and added quietly, We ask only for recognition and understanding. We do not seek war, but we are ready for it if it comes. That is all you need to know. And the elder of the council leaned back, studying them both. He did not speak for a long moment. Then he said, We have seen proof of humanity's strength. The council will deliberate on what this means. But know this, the galaxy has taken notice. Earth is no longer unseen. Your presence will shape decisions in the days to come. And Laura and Daniel bowed slightly and stepped back. The session ended, but the murmurs did not stop. Delegates left the chamber, whispering, calculating, and reconsidering everything they thought they knew about humans. Across the galaxy, news would travel quickly. A species once thought minor had revealed the truth of its power, and no one would underestimate humanity again. Outside the council station, the human fleet remained in formation, silent but ready. It was a quiet reminder that while the humans spoke with calm words, their strength was real and waiting. Every ship was a testament to the people who built it, to the lessons of survival, and to the unyielding will of a species determined to thrive. The demonstration had ended, but the message was clear. Humanity was here, and the galaxy had no choice but to recognize them. After the demonstration of the human fleet, the atmosphere on the council station changed. Delegates moved with quiet urgency, whispering to each other, exchanging messages through holographic screens and debating what they had witnessed. Some were worried that humans could become too powerful. Others were curious and wanted to learn more about this species that had stunned the galaxy. And Captain Laura Mitchell and Commander Daniel Brooks returned to their quarters after the session. The halls were filled with delegates moving to private meetings, their whispers following them like shadows. Daniel looked out the window at the fleet once more. Hundreds of ships floated silently, their formation perfect, lights glowing faintly in the dark. He felt a mixture of pride and responsibility. The council now knew that humans were strong, but not all reactions would be friendly. Then Laura joined him at the window. They saw our strength, she said quietly. Some will try to be our friends and some will try to test us. Daniel nodded. We cannot ignore the possibility of hostility, but we cannot act first. Humanity only responds when necessary. That is our way. And again that night, the two humans reviewed reports from the fleet. Every ship had sent back information about readiness, crew condition, and weapon systems. The reports were all positive. Each crew was disciplined, confident, and alert. The humans on the ships knew that they represented not only their own lives, but the entire species. Failure was not an option. The next day, Laura and Daniel returned to the council chamber. This time the atmosphere was different. The delegates were less hostile, though some still carried suspicion in their eyes. They wanted to see more. to understand humanity's history and capabilities. The elder with stone-like skin rose and gestured for the humans to speak. And Laura began with a simple statement. Humanity does not seek to rule. We do not seek conquest, but we do not bow to threats or intimidation. We survive because we must, and we survive because we are united. One delegate, a tall being with silver skin and deep black eyes, asked how humanity could be so disciplined and coordinated. Your fleet is impressive, he said. But how do you train so many for such perfect teamwork? Son and Daniel answered, It is not only training. It is experience. Humanity has faced countless dangers from natural disasters to wars. Every challenge teaches us to adapt, to survive, to work together. Our strength comes from our history, our choices, and our will. Numbers alone mean nothing. Will and coordination give power. Tinane feathered delegate clicked his claws against the table. You speak of will and history, he said. But are humans not emotional, fragile? Can your species truly endure the tests of the galaxy? Laura met his gaze calmly. We are emotional. We are fragile, and that is why we survive. Fragility teaches caution. Emotion teaches care, and both teach strength. Humans are not invincible, but we do not give up. We endure and grow stronger every time we are tested. The chamber was quiet for a long moment. Some delegates whispered, thinking of their own worlds and histories. Many had never seen a species combine resilience, willpower, and technology in the way humans did. Some felt fear. Others felt curiosity. The elder studied Laura and Daniel closely, sensing the depth of humanity's truth. Then another delegate spoke, this one a small, reptilian being with scales that shone under the light. If what you say is true, then humans are not only survivors but also capable of great strategy. How do we know your fleet is not a threat waiting to happen? Daniel replied steadily. Our fleet exists to protect us, not to threaten others. We respond to aggression, not create it, but we will act with precision and strength if necessary. That is the difference between a minor species and a species that survives. Our actions are measured, our strength real, and our will unbreakable. The elder nodded slowly. Then the council must consider its approach. Humanity cannot be ignored or underestimated. Your presence will influence decisions, alliances, and conflicts across the galaxy. The council acknowledges your strength and your right to exist without fear of suppression. Laura and Daniel bowed slightly. They knew this acknowledgement was significant, but it was only the beginning. Recognition did not guarantee peace. Many delegates would still test humanity's limits, some through words and others potentially through force. But the council had seen enough to understand that humans were not to be dismissed. As they left the chamber, whispers followed them once again. Some voices were filled with awe, others with caution. Across the station, messages were sent to worlds far and wide. News traveled quickly. Earth had arrived with power, discipline, and a spirit that could not be ignored. And that evening, Laura and Daniel returned to the observation deck. The human fleet floated below, silent and unyielding. Each ship was a symbol of the people who had built it, the lessons of survival they carried, and the strength of a species that refused to bow. The fleet had spoken without words, demonstrating that humanity's spirit was not to be questioned. And Daniel looked at Laura. They will be careful now, he said. Some will seek alliances, some will watch us closely, and some may challenge us. But humanity has already proven something important. We are not weak, and we will not be underestimated. Laura nodded. Yes, and the galaxy will learn that respect is earned, not given. We have shown them who we are, and that will change everything. None outside. The stars stretched endlessly, silent witnesses to the moment. The human fleet remained in formation, a calm yet powerful presence in the vastness of space. It was a message to all who watched. Earth had arrived, and humanity would shape its own destiny among the stars. No one could deny them, and no one would forget the day the council finally saw the true strength of humans. The days after the human demonstration passed in a tense mix of diplomacy and observation. Across the council station, delegates debated quietly, sending messages to their home worlds. Every corner of the galaxy seemed to be talking about Earth and its fleet. What had once been considered a minor species was now a force that could not be ignored. Captain Laura Mitchell and Commander Daniel Brooks spent their time reviewing the fleet's readiness. Even though the Council had acknowledged humanity's strength, the humans knew that recognition could turn into suspicion or even hostility. Every ship, every crew member, and every system had to remain at peak condition. There could be no mistakes. At the observation deck, the two humans watched the stars. Hundreds of ships floated in perfect formation, a silent testament to Earth's determination. Daniel broke the silence first. We've shown them what we can do, but how many will actually respect it? Some will only fear it, Laura nodded. Fear is powerful, but respect lasts longer. We've made them see the truth. That is the first step. Now it is up to them to choose their actions wisely. And meanwhile, in the council chamber, discussions became heated. The golden-feathered delegate and his allies argued for strict monitoring of Earth's fleet. They feared humans could expand too quickly, or that their power might destabilize the region. Others suggested diplomacy and alliances, noting that humans had clearly stated they sought survival, not conquest. Slowly, the debate shifted from doubt to cautious consideration. Ambassadors from distant worlds approached the humans, asking questions about Earth, its people, and its way of life. Some came with curiosity, others with offers of cooperation. Humanity's reputation was spreading faster than any communication network could contain. Stories of their fleet, their discipline, and their resilience traveled from world to world. Each tale added to the growing recognition that Earth had changed the balance of power in the galaxy. One day, Laura and Daniel received a message from the elder of the council. The council had made a decision. Humans would be treated as equals. Earth would be allowed to participate in galactic decisions, alliances, and trade without restriction, as long as it respected the rights of other species. The message was formal, but the weight of its meaning was clear. The council had acknowledged humanity as a force to be respected. Laura allowed herself a small smile. "It's a start," she said. "The galaxy will never treat us the same way again." Daniel looked out at the fleet, his expression serious. "They will test us, no doubt. Some will see this as weakness, some as opportunity, but we are ready. Humanity is ready." Across the station, alien observers watched the human ships with a mix of awe and caution. Strategists from many worlds noted the precision and coordination of the fleet, recording every detail. The human way of thinking, their ability to adapt and survive, fascinated them. Even those who had doubted the humans before could not ignore what they had seen. Earth had proven that it was no longer a minor world. And then weeks passed. The council held meetings, now including Earth representatives, in discussions. Laura and Daniel spoke clearly, always calm, always firm. They did not threaten. They did not boast. They simply stated facts and expectations. Their words carried weight because of what the council had already witnessed. Humanity had earned its voice, and some worlds sent envoys to establish alliances. Humans shared technology, strategies for survival, and knowledge about their home planet. They did not reveal all their secrets, but enough to demonstrate goodwill and competence. Slowly, trust began to grow. The galaxy, once dismissive of Earth, now watched it closely, respected it, and in many cases, sought its cooperation. Even as new alliances formed, some species remained cautious, keeping their fleets near their borders and observing human movements carefully. The elders understood that humanity's rise could not be ignored, and even peaceful humans represented a force unlike any other. Diplomacy and vigilance became intertwined in a delicate balance. Anna and Laura and Daniel continued to monitor the fleet, training exercises happening daily. Humans tested themselves, exploring new tactics and improving efficiency. Every action reinforced their reputation. The fleet was more than ships. It was a symbol of human spirit, of determination, and of survival. And on one evening, Laura stood on the observation deck looking out at the stars. Daniel joined her quietly. "We've come far," he said. "The council sees us as equals now. Some even respect us," Minna and Laura nodded. "Yes, but the galaxy is vast. There are many who will watch us closely, some with hope, some with fear, and some with ambition. Our work is only beginning." Daniel smiled slightly. "Let them watch. Let them understand. We do not hide, we do not pretend. Humanity shows its strength and the galaxy learns." In and outside, the human fleet glowed faintly in the dark, a wall of steel and light, calm yet ready. Ships remained in perfect formation, a reminder to all who saw them that humans were disciplined, powerful, and united. Each ship carried a story of survival, a lesson learned and a piece of human spirit. It was a presence that could not be ignored, a message that traveled without words. Earth was here, humanity was strong, and the galaxy had no choice but to recognize them. Ananes, the council continued its deliberations and envoys traveled to and from Earth. The humans remained steady. Their fleet was a shield, their spirit unyielding. Laura and Daniel knew that challenges would come, that the galaxy would test them in many ways, but they also knew that humanity had proven one undeniable fact. They were no longer a minor species. They were survivors, strategists, and warriors of the stars, and they would continue to rise, showing the galaxy the true power of humanity. In time, news spread across countless systems. Earth had arrived in the galaxy with a fleet beyond imagination, led by humans who could survive anything. They had earned respect, forced caution, and created alliances. They were not only seen but understood in part, as a species with determination, strength, and courage. And with each passing day, humans continued to shape their own destiny, reminding the galaxy that even the smallest world could produce the mightiest warriors, the cleverest thinkers, and the most enduring survivors. And the human fleet remained poised in space, a symbol of everything humans had survived and accomplished. It was a message without words, a warning without threat, and a presence without arrogance. The galaxy had learned to watch Earth carefully, to recognize humanity's power, and to understand that from this day forward, humans would not be underestimated. The story of Earth and its people had reached a turning point, and the galaxy would never be the same again.